This here is Backwoods Billy, coming to you from the beautiful Delmarva Eastern Shore, where today is May 8th, and my wife has a little hoodie on because it's cold outside. Believe it or not, we've had some freaky weather. We went from the 80s and 90s, which didn't last long, back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Really weird weather in May. We should be like in the 70s and 80s. Anyway, this is a new beer by Pabst. What they did is resurrected an old recipe they had from 1935, and I saw some reviews where people said, well, it says in 1937. What it says is from the Brewers Recipe Log from 1937. So in essence, they probably back then obviously didn't have computers, and as such everything was written down, so they probably didn't have the 1935 Brewers Log. Somebody took it with them or whatever, or it was lost. So they got the recipe from the 1937 Brewers Log. I'm going to read a few things here from the box. There's a couple other reviews you can look online. One guy uses a tankard in the review. I don't recall his name. He's got a background of like an Italian flag on a glass. Pretty interesting review he did. And then there's Louisiana Beer Review did a review on this as well when it first came out on May 1st. Some places got it at the end of April. Anyway, this is Old Tankard Ale, brewed by Pabst, and 5.8% alcohol by volume, 35 IBUs. Now this would be on the heavier side of this style of ale, which is an extra special bitter. We'll get into that a little bit. Best by 06, 15, 16, and there that is right there. And I already had one last night, which in the bottom. It's on the can as well. And then there's a control number, so they'll know if there's anything wrong with it. And it says ale brewed by Pabst. 4 cans, 16 ounces. I paid $6.54. I've seen people pay one line $7.99, $6.99, $11.99. So Old Tankard Ale, 4 16-ounce cans. So I'm gonna get my old man glasses on because I am old. So this is just got a thing if you get a question or comment to call them, and then anybody. I don't really drink out of the can, but they have a thing you can get, a plastic handle to make the can have a handle like a mug. And the tankers just has a wider bottom on it. So if you want to see, they typically were metal in the old days, and so that's on that part. I left one of the cans in here. It's cold. Serve between 50 and 55 degrees with this typically. This is something this style should actually be. Sorry, extra special bitters. Actually, it says craft beer in a can, or excuse me, in cans isn't a new idea. In fact, it's over 80 years old. 1935 was the first year beer was ever packaged in cans, and the year Pabst introduced Old Tankard Ale in its proprietary keg line, TM for trademark, tapped a can to retain freshness. Now, it says right on Old Tankard Ale, 1937 Brewers Log recipe, which means they had everything in a log or a book. Open can, number 2, pour into tankard, and 3, hoist with friends. This is as found on the original Old Tankard Ale cans. This will be a little bit longer. There's a lot of stuff to get into this with. Here is a genuine ale in a non-refillable brewery sealed container which protects against the harmful effects of light, tampering, anything or anybody. Now you can enjoy the tang, aromas, vigor, and rich mellow flavor of a real ale unimpaired. Backed by more than 170 years of brewing experience, there's no question to the quality and flavor of this post-prohibition icon, brewed with 2-row imported Cara, Munich, and Cara aroma malts with Nugget, Liberty, Wilmot, and Cascade hops. This classic ale exhibits the fruitiness and maltiness of an extra special bitter. OldTankardAle.com. You can also go to Pabst.com, and it'll take you to Old Tankard, Old OldTankard Ale.com. I happen to like Pabst. Actually, I drink it in bottles and can. I personally like it. I like Natty Boh. I don't like beer snobs. You like beer, you like all styles of beer. I've got one kind of windy today too, which is weird. But this is easier so I don't get the can too foamy. On the bottom of the can, there is a Best By date. Same thing I read to you. 06, 15, 2006, or 16.
It's a little blurry.
Well, I mean, you can still see it. There's a control number. So I know a couple of reviews that have that. Now, like I said, the other 2 reviews are pretty good about this as well on this. Now, Evo has an EXILE Red Ale, which would be on par with this. This, according to, I already bought it when I looked it up. I got a little better deal on 64. I think it retails for $6.99 or something like that, or $7.99. Anyway, EXILE, and then Heavy Seas Winter Storm. Heavy Seas, they got 83, 81 rating, and the EXILE Red got an 87 or 88, either one below or one above this, and that's from Evolution Craft Brewing here in Eastern Shore. Heavy Seas is another company. I drink a lot of their beers. They're back in Healthorp, right outside of Annapolis. This category really breaks down into a couple different things. I'm going to give you a recipe how to make this, or a version of it. You can change the malts to this style of malts and hops. You can play with it, and it's really targeted more at Fuller's, which is really that and Hobgoblin, which are from England, would be the two ones. They're extra special bitter that you look at. That this would be the recipe's kind of targeted more towards that, but you can tweak it. And if you're going to make a gallon of it versus 5 gallons, not a big deal. 0.20. In other words, take 10% of it and 10% add together if you can't figure that out. Well, or you can go to a site that shows you how to do basic math. But anyway, hate to say that, but it's elementary math. So we can't break something down. It's something you should have learned in grade school. But anyway, Crab House Crunch Gourmet Peanut Squares with Chesapeake Bay seasoning. Blue Bay Crab Company. Now, my wife and I bought several different things yesterday, and we like the one which is the Barnacles, which has a little rye crisp and the pretzel sticks and pretzels and lots of nuts and little cheese crackers shaped like feet and blah, blah,
sesame
blah.
sticks.
Sesame sticks. It's got Old Bay, well, not Old Bay, but their version of Old Bay seasoning, which is a crab seasoning. People from Louisiana or Texas are probably used to something a little more salty and more garlic, not as much salt, not as much garlic. There is some a little bit, more bay leaves, more pepper to it. This is maintained fresh after opening can, store in refrigerator. Created by Bay Beyond Incorporated, 29368 Atlantic Drive, Melville, Virginia. www.bluecrabbay.com. It's www.bluecrabay.com. And product of the USA, made in the USA, and it uses as much Virginia stuff as it can. And I'm going to show you this. This, by the way, is the last one. We bought more of these. We want to try it out, and actually, one of the guys we bought at, we buy from for this one. There's a restaurant supply place we buy from because they give you really good deals and buying in quantity. But anyway, they love when I like how you put it, when cans tend to get crushed or opened by mistake. Anyway, this one is their favorite, and this is one we didn't try before. So it's like almost like a peanut brittle, if you will.
It's peanut brittle with the crab seasoning on top.
It's like crab seasoning. It's very good because you're combining sweet and hot.
Put it on top of the lid. I'll do it close up.
So sweet and hot together is a good thing. Now, even though I don't need the bottle, I put it here to hold the third wave coaster, and the glass that I chose is an English style pub glass. Now they're using a tankard. If you want to use a tankard, or if you want to use a beer mug, a tankard, the one guy's view, it's just a little bit wider on the bottom. It can be glass. I have one. To me, I think it's an English ale, and I would serve it in this, or kind of like you see a Coke glass type deal, because that's what you serve a red in. Anybody would go take a course on how to judge beer. You'll get into a glass one out. I'm not really, in this case, I do agree with this is the better style glass for this ale.
I'm going to laugh if Birch swoops down and steals your last one.
Probably will, because there's been ants and everything else. There's so much wind. I have many ticks on me today. But anyway, this is a very good beer. I already had one of these, you can see. What I want to do is get ready to start it, and I'll go more into the style. We'll talk about, this is going to be on the stronger side, but this is 5.8%. It's because they're more of a sessionable, so something you're going to get blotted. You can drink a couple of them and not worry about being hammered type deal. So you can have a conversation, not like a peon. Just trust me, there's people that look like peons anyway, but of which I'm one. Here we go. Got an English style pub glass. And look at that pour. Right you're supposed to do, and I'm going to turn it up right now, and this will actually produce better head. Now, typically with this style of beer, you do not get a very good head with it. In this case, I would say you do. The carbonation tends to be slow, rising. I would say this is mid. The body tends to be mid, and what you hit with this is a malt forward with this, and then a hop back. You can see the color on this is that of almost a cream soda. It's an amber color. Now the acceptable range for this is from a light golden to a darker amber. This fits into that category perfectly. And I had one. Let me tell you something. This beer, I already give right now the rating on it. It's 2 thumbs up. Superb. The price on this, not as good of a deal if I was to look, for example, at who doesn't brew this anyway? Shock Top, 3 for 3, 5 for 5 type deal. And what's the other one? Margaritaville, Lager.
Landshark.
Landshark is Margaritaville. Now, up front, you get the bready sweetness to this, which is coming from the malts. A slight bit of toastiness to this, slight bit of caramel, again, all malts. Now, you do get fruitiness, which this beer derives the style of beer. English extra special bitters, English style, gets a lot of its profiles also from the yeast as well as the malt hops, and it's not extremely hoppy. One guy said, even if a lot of people like IPAs will necessarily like this, I think they will. You can smell the floral hops in this. So there's a floral aroma. There's also the floral from, you get a peppery to this, fruitiness. You can smell almost like raisins with the aroma. And then when you taste this, you'll see it's like an apricot. Now the lacing is really good. Head retention is good. I'm going to give this body types of medium, a heavier on the medium side, a body with this. It's heavy body because of the malt. And the bittering is balanced. It's not overpowering. And you're getting like the herbal qualities. Very slight bit of pine. I mean very slight. A little bit of pepper. Very slight. You get the sweetness, the caramel toffee like. And also an apricot to this as well. So it's very complex. It's not a simplistic beer. This is something that could be enjoyed with friends, have a nice conversation, whether it be at a picnic table, fire pit, on a boat, after you're hunting. I've said hunting before, and I have yet to receive a comment, thank God. I would assume people think I'm some ignorant hillbilly running around the woods shooting shit drunk. That doesn't happen. I don't think guns or any weapons mixed with alcohol is not a good idea. Anyway, I would assume people would just say when you're fishing on the boat, common sense would dictate that you'd be done, so you don't get pulled overboard if you're fishing for a big fish and drown. So anyway, no. Very, very good. I like the beer. I'm gonna give you a recipe on this as well. This beer tends to fill in the gaps, like where your ambers, your ales, and your porters miss, mainly between a porter and your amber. In that, I mean that this is something that fills that gap where it's missing, the extra special bitter. And because it's going to be having more of a bitter profile than your typical red on the finish, it kind of fills that gap in. And I think if you like an IPA, you might like this. Evolution Craft Brewing makes one called EXILE, and Winter Storm, which is one that I've had before and loved from Heavy Seas. A little more expensive, like $9.99 a 6-pack. Also Scotch Ale, FULLER'S, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here we go. This is it. I got a whole recipe with like 5 freaking pages or 6 pages of stuff on here. Anyway, I'll give you the recipe right now because it's a lot. This is Old Tankard I got on here when it was originally brewed, 5% alcohol thing. Fuller, this is kind of like based on Fuller's. Now, if you wanted to change it, all you'd have to do, and I'll post on here, is change your malts. Brew with 2-row imported Cara, C-A-R-A, Munich, and Cara Aroma malts with Nugget. So here's your hops: Nugget, Liberty, Vermont, and Cascade. And if I can tell you each flavor profile of the hops is, and that'll help you know herbal, pine, how much you put in, and blah blah blah. So your end of the bowl is going to be more of your aroma, beginning is your flavor or bittering. All right, here we go. I'll also write this out. 5 gallons or 19 liters of water. Kind of common sense. Your original gravity equals, this can make 5 gallons. 1.060, final gravity is 1.014. Your IBUs are 35, so we're in that range. Your color is SRM 15. Your alcohol by volume 5.9, slightly higher, not a big deal. It's not, I'll show you how to add some honey in here and boost your thing up a little bit more. Fuller's cask ale typically is 5.5
if you would get that in England. Over here, you're like around 5.9 on the bottle beer. Now, I'm going to put this in here. It's very important with the yeast in this that you pitch it appropriately and use a starter, because if you don't, or a food for the yeast, it may fall out and you're not going to get the thing with it. You're going to need to pitch a lot of it to make sure you get your good thing, the appropriate amount. Don't try to save money on yeast. The ingredients: 9 pounds or 2 ounces or 4.2 kilograms for those that are overseas. English 2-row pale malt. Again, you can look this up. Now, this has flake maize in it. This doesn't say it does, but it has a thing to 2 pounds or 0.91 kilograms of flaked maize, which by the way is corn. 1 pound 2 ounces or 0.51 kilograms of crystal malt. 5.25 AAUs target hops. Again, you can change the hops 60 minutes. Add 0.53 ounces, 15 grams, 10% ounces, that gives you that thing. 2.6 AAU Challenger hops, 60 minutes, 0.34 or 1 ounce, 10 grams, your alpha acids on it, 0.83 Northern Down hops, 15 minutes, okay, into the bowl right there, and then 0.1 ounce slash 2.7 grams, 8.5 is your acid rating on that, 1.66 AAUs Golden hops, 15 minutes, 0.33 ounces, 9.4 kilograms of 15 alpha acids, and a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast nutrients. We'll get in that. 1 teaspoon of moss, Irish moss, and that's going to clarify the beer for those who do not know that. Now, steps or procedures, you want to call it. You start with 5.5 gallons of tap or bottled water, and by the way, you're going to also add your Burton sauce to this, and I'll get into that. Tap water or spring water, and you're going to steep your malts in there. Let me get in here, blah blah blah. 1/2 gallon of boiling water. That's just because I did this. Okay. Your yeast is going to be your 1968 London E.S.B or White Labs WLPL 002 Crystal Ale, and you get 2 quarts, 2 liters. This is your starter, and then when you go to prime it, 0.75 cups corn sugar for that. There you go.
Probably best to tape it out at the bottom of your review form.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, here we go. I got my 9 pounds 2 ounces is your target on that. And that's the Fuller's. I guess my procedure. Oh, here procedure. Heat. 15 quarts or 14 liters, 165 or 74 degrees Celsius. I didn't put the Celsius in there, so. Steep your grains. You can also stick them in a grain bag to make things neater. I do that sometimes. Sometimes we just. I have a big screen. What do you call that thing?
Strainer.
Your strainer. Okay. Whatever. Put it through there. You want to stir your grains, and you're going to add your flaked maize, mashed at 154 degrees Fahrenheit, 68 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes. And you're going to stir boiled water into the mash to raise your temperature to 168 degrees. You can also turn up your heat, 168 degrees or 76 degrees Celsius. Hold for 5 minutes. And then you recirculate for 20 minutes, and then you're going to begin to sparge your wort with 170 degrees or 77 degrees Celsius. And you're going to hold for 90 minutes, adding your hops as directed, as in the ingredients, blah, 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 to the bowl. Add in your yeast nutrients and Irish malts within the 15 minutes left in the bowl. Pour your wort and transfer to your fermentation. Aerate wort. Pitch yeast, 68 to 70 degrees, or 21 degrees Celsius, I believe. Mash is complete. You want to, in a few days, after it's complete, transfer second base secondary fermentation bottle. You want to let it clear out, and then once it's clear, within a couple days, you can get ready to bottle it. And then you want to use 1/2 a teaspoon of Burton water salts on there, and then your last 5 minutes, you're going to put your, if you want to put your Kent in there, you can as well. And then I got my 8 ounces of starter, Y yeast 1028, which you're going to use for that. And then if you wanted to, at the end of this, to do something a little different, when it's done, after the fermentation, while you're letting it clear out, you could put 1 ounce of Saul's hops in there if you wanted to, or your Kent Golden hops, put 1 ounce of it in there. It's going to dry hop it, let it sit for a couple days to give it a little hoppier flavor. You can also at the end of the bowl, add a little bit of honey to it, like a tablespoon of honey or a teaspoon. Play with it. If you want it sweeter, and that way the hops will balance it out. Because the last bit of hops and dry hops can do nothing but add aroma. So if falls give you more floral, you can play with different hops and whatever you want to do with it. So I kind of like to put that in. This is a little more complex, but it is an ale. I gave a recipe. We did the shock top Belgian and Blue Moon. I did that type of beer would not. This is a much simpler recipe, much easier to do than this. But this is not that difficult. Anybody that's brewed before, a Belgian ale is a little bit easier to start with, or a pale ale. But this isn't that much more complex. It's just a little more tedious with the yeast strain that's used with this. That's all. So we're going to use our, what's this thing even called? Crab House Crunch, and it is the gourmet peanut squares with Chesapeake Bay seasoning.
In other words, peanut brittle with Chesapeake Bay seasoning.
Sweet and hot. And I think it goes well with this beer. This is also sweet and hot. This would also go well with, pulled pork sandwich. What's it, Cubano? It'd also go well with grilled chicken.
Jerk chicken.
Jerk chicken, seafood, Chinese food, well, more spicy, like Szechuan. So, a little bit longer review, but again, this one you can go to OLDTANKARDALE.com, Old Tankard Ale, and this one is BLUE Crab CRABBAY.com, and there are other beers that are fit in this category. Fuller's is probably the most famous one. Yeah, Red Hook, Trooper. There's a couple of them that into that category. I like EXILE by EVO, but I have to say that this and Heavy Seas, this is a much better buy, price-wise. And here's the funny thing. Like I said, between a Scotch Ale and your porter, this red kind of fits in there because it's going to be a more balanced bitter and sweetness to it. They're starting to resurrect a lot of old recipes that they've had for 135 to 150 years old. Back, and also brought back Ballentine, which would fit in this category as well. So these companies are coming back now and doing stuff like this, and I've seen idiots at Triumph that they're trying to promote craft beer say stuff like, oh, it's brewed by Pabst, therefore it's not a craft beer. Let me tell you something. That's like I see peons talk about Chinese can't. So he tells us we can't make a tattoo machine, a cool one. It's a freaking doorbell. If they got a nuclear aircraft carrier, I'm pretty damn sure that they can easily do that. Pabst brews beer, very good beer, not difficult. Anybody that's ever home brewed, if you have a problem, you brew a small batch like a gallon, you try some experimental or 2 gallons, before you move to 5 or 10 gallons, because you're going to waste 5 gallons of beer. I give you the 5-gallon recipe, easy to break it down, and I'll put that on with this, so it's easy for anybody who wants to do it. It's a Backwoods Billy, 2 thumbs up, and again, $6.54 for a 4-pack, and I'm seeing people say a high is $11.99, typically $7.99. Backwoods Billy, 2 thumbs up on this.